So, Lorenzo, first of all, it's a really pleasure to have you here in Łódź. Your family actually supported the city for the long time, and they actually were part of the creation of the city. And I really want to discuss also a little bit about that. First of all, I feel that Juliusz Heinzla was a person like a typical Łódź mensch who came to the city with just a small amount and died having an enormous fortune. How do you feel like the history of your family and was evolving here in the city? It was connected with the city, or it was just his skills, his own skills? How do you feel about that?
I think there are other people who know more about the historical background of the career of Juliusz Heinzla. But I think from all I've heard, and it was passed through generations, is that he was very hardworking. He was dedicated to the work. And I heard, I don't know if it's correct, that his own father was a failed industrialist, and so he probably felt the burden of his inheritance. You know, as I said, I never met my great-grandfather who had been working with him, and my grandmother, if she would have met Juliusz Heinzla, she would have been very, very tiny. So I was very surprised when I look at the history of Łódź that, in fact, the history of Heinzla is one of success, but also integrity. It's somebody who came across the ages with a good reputation. I think this is reflected on what we've seen today as well.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's really true, because Julius was the person who supported not only his as a German, he supported not only the German side of the city, but also he co-founded, for example, the altar for our cathedral.
Yes.
He was the co-financing the creation of the Orthodox Church. So he was really involved in many areas across the town, and he left a huge heritage. I already know that you've been here to the city 3 times.
That's
how
correct.
do you feel the change of the city was through those times?
Well, I think the first time I went to Łódź, I was a strong affection to it, because it also coincided with some other events. More had to do with the history of the ghetto, and it was just coincidental I came here. But I became aware that even though the city looked tired because there were a lot of buildings which were not renovated, it had a very rich history. And I used to say to a friend of mine, I said, Łódź is a bit like an old Foreign Legion soldier. He has scars, but he bears them with pride as proof of what he has gone through. And so when I visited Łódź about 25 years ago, the city was still finding it difficult to find an image that he could project. But 10, 15 years ago when I came back, you could see that there was already a strong push on the cultural side, and in terms of renovating some of the buildings. I had the opportunity in the first visit to visit a modern art museum here, and I was very, very impressed, because there were some beautiful pieces of full creation. And I said, you know, if the city is able to produce artistically these kind of people, its future is assured. It will work.
Okay,
so that's my reaction to it.
What about now the family thing?
Yes.
I know that your connection with the city, you've been here 3 times already. You are here now with your family and your friends as well. But tell me, do you think that this connection may last for a longer time for other generations? How can we cooperate as the city and the family of Heinzla?
You know, when I came back the last time, I brought with me, I mentioned my great-uncle Nicolas. He has had many children. One of them is a cousin with whom I'm quite close, called Brandino. And Brandino wanted to come here, and so I took him along with his wife. And so there is a wider knowledge and connection on the Italian side of the family. My son Thomas, who is with me today, asked me several times to tell him the story, and thanks to Christophe, we were able to say, well, come and have a look with it. So I hope, because it's an interesting city, it's a highly cosmopolitan city, that we will be able to come often and participate to whatever happens.
Mm-hmm. What about now I'm going to ask you about tourism, because I'm a representative of the tourism industry here in Łódź. How do you feel we should sell the city to the tourists? What is our identity, maybe something interesting from your perspective that might be sold to the tourists all over the world?
Well, I cannot really make a lot of suggestions, but you know, if something cultural could take place, you know, in France, for example, in the field of photography, there's a small city called Perpignan, and they have a yearly festival, and it attracts people from all over the world, and became, you know, at the beginning it was very tiny, but it grew and grew and grew. So I suspect that it's in the field of music, literature, or other performing art, which finds the artistic background to support it, it will attract people because people need these kind of things nowadays.
Thank you.